Hello and good morning, everybody. It's Friday. It's already Friday. And it's looking like it's going to be a beautiful day, a beautiful weekend. Just wanted to remind you all that now we have outdoor classes at Abide. We have a big, beautiful backyard, and we have room for about 12 people to practice yoga in a socially distanced kind of way. So this weekend we have two classes that are going to be taking place outdoors. On Saturday we have a noon vinyasa with Emily, and on Sunday we have our community practice with Kashmir, and that's at 11 o'clock. And just keep your eyes out for more classes coming to the backyard and other outdoor beautiful locations through the area. This morning I kind of wanted to keep it real a little bit. I have been struggling this week, since last weekend actually, with a lot of middle back pain. So like right here. And even as a yoga teacher, with all these tools, with all these things that I know to do to help relieve tension in that area, sometimes I still feel pain there. I still get tense. I still have a little bit of difficulty. So this morning, I just wanted to share a little bit of my own personal practice this week with all of you. I'm not sure about the rest of you, but I know that I definitely have been in this stabilizing mode over the past 6 months. That's been kind of my goal, is to stabilize in all of the different areas of my life. And my body also has been kind of feeling that. So I've been practicing all kinds of really strong things, but maybe not placing as much emphasis on some softness in my practice as I should have been. So when we notice that we're feeling tense, when we notice that our back is feeling a little bit tricky, sometimes it's nice to practice these softer shapes, these relaxed poses, these more passive poses, to relieve some of that tension that's built up. Right. So I'm thinking we're going to lie down this morning, and I have a bunch of props with me, just because it's when you're struggling with some amount of pain, you want to make sure you have as much support as possible. I have a couple of cushions from my couch. I've got a nice little firm block here. If you have like a block, or even like a roasting pan from the kitchen, is a really nice thing to use. And I've rolled up a couple of blankets and tied them together with a belt of mine in place of a bolster. So that can also be a nice thing to use. Oh yeah, and a strap. A strap is good too. All right, so I'm thinking that we are going to begin this morning in a child's pose, in a supported child's pose. Okay, so child's pose has kind of been my go-to pose for this middle back pain. I like to keep it fairly well supported, so I'm going to take a block underneath the end of this kind of firm bolster, and I'm also going to take one of my couch cushions and just place that on top, and then my other couch cushion, and place it in between my heels and my butt. Good, and we're just going to take a little bit of time, once you get yourself adequately propped up, to settle down onto all of the things that you have placed in front of you and behind you. And thinking about what your week might have been like, what your year has been like, maybe. And sometimes it's, kind of helpful to really recognize what even like your past year, 2 years, decade has been like. And it's by coming to some kind of understanding about how you operate in the world. It's by coming to that understanding that you can begin to unwind some of these internal knots, physical and otherwise, right? So what are the ways in which you have engaged with the world? And what does your body have to say about that? And then thinking we'll just get started with about 5 minutes or so in the supported child's pose, breathing deep breaths. As I settle into this child's pose, I feel a really nice opening through that part of my back that has been pretty sore this week, okay, right in the middle. just below the ribs. And with some deep breaths, let's work to kind of unwind those knots a bit, to really gently stretch them out. And if your head has been turned to one side the whole time, it could be really helpful to turn your head over to the other side for the last half of this pose. And as you turn your head, just recommit yourself to a deep breath. You let your breath be as full as it possibly can be this morning. Let your shoulders relax down. And check in with your glutes. Make sure they're not tensed here. And we'll just take about another 10 to 15 deep breaths here, super deep breaths. Now we all have different capacity for breath, right? Some days we wake up and it's easy to take those full breaths. Our nervous system is already rested. Some days we wake up and we feel jangly. Taking a deep breath is not the easiest. So if it feels a little bit harder to take a deep breath this morning, don't judge yourself. Just do what you can. Every conscious breath is a good thing. Every conscious breath is a gift, whether it's full or not. Good. Last 2 deep breaths here in your supported child's pose. All right, and then very gently start to sit yourself up. And as you sit up, you're gonna be on your heels more than likely. Just take a moment here on your heels to sit up nice and tall. You might bring your hands into your lap. And let's think about bouncing our head right over the pelvis. I find that when I'm really, struggling with the back pain, it's because my posture is super wacky. Like I'm leaning forward all the time, or I'm like holding myself to one side. So let's think about just creating that nice, strong middle line here from the tip of the tailbone up to the crown of the head. Feel your lower ribs gently lift up away from the top of the pelvis. Good. Let's open up the arms nice and wide, big stretch. And then we're going to take that left arm underneath the right and just gentle hug around. It doesn't have to be anything huge. And think about dropping your chin towards your chest. Sometimes tension from in between the shoulder blades or the upper back kind of migrates down into the middle back. Okay, tightness in one place can lead to tightness in another. Good. So let's open up those arms nice and wide again. Big stretch, and then we'll just take it to the other side. A little hug around, other arm underneath. Good. A few more. Great. Open up those arms nice and wide again. Awesome. And then we're going to come into hands and knees. And here you might just take your props away for a little bit. And as you find your hands and knees, I'm going to suggest a little bit of like a cat and cow practice. So thinking about the knees right under the hips, the wrists right under the shoulders more or less. And just start to round the back and drop the belly. Maybe a little rocking forward, backwards here or side to side. I also like to kind of jump rope the belly. So thinking about the tip of your tailbone and the crown of your head is like the ends of the jump rope, and everything else in between as the parts that are moving, right? So maybe taking a couple of those jump roping actions in either direction. Good. Coming back through here. Okay, a couple more times, just rounding the back, dropping the belly, kind of keeping it simple this morning. All right, and then we're going to walk the knees back in space a bit. We're just going to lay those forearms down on the floor, drop the head down, take a puppy pose. I like to cross my ankles here. It gives me a nice steadiness in the lower body. You allow your pelvis to be nice and high, your spine to drape out of the pelvis, the head to make contact with the floor. Good, just about 5 breaths more here. All right, and then we'll shift through onto our bellies, dropping ourselves down into crocodile. Excuse me, crocodile pose with your hands stacked, your forehead on the back of your hands, and just shake your hips a little bit from side to side. Excuse me. Excuse me, allergies are kind of bad today. Good. 3 more breaths here in your belly. All right, and then let's prop ourselves up in this Sphinx pose. Okay, your elbows will be more or less under your shoulders. They might be a little bit wider. They might be a little bit in front of you or a little bit behind you, but allow those elbows and shoulders to really like hold you up. Okay, and again, you might like gently rock the hips from side to side here to encourage a little bit of release through the glutes. Sometimes tight glutes are the issue when we have our back pain. Okay, and just thinking about allowing maybe the head to drop down here. As the head drops down, that weight can help to relieve some tension along the length of the spine. Your belly presses into the floor. And just notice your deep breath around the low and middle back. What's it doing to that area? And from here, we're going to walk the elbows over to the left. You might interlace the fingers. Excuse me. All right, take a look over that left shoulder. And then come back through, excuse me, to center, walk your elbows over to the right. Oh my goodness. Okay, come back through to center. And we're gonna, excuse me, lower ourselves down and find our backs. All right, and here on your back, a little bit of time in constructive rest. Constructive rest has you placing the soles of your feet on the floor. Your knees can point straight up if that feels better, or maybe they drop down to the center. If you drop your knees in towards each other, it helps to create a little bit more space across your lower back. That internal rotation of the thighs gives the sacral area a little bit more room to breathe. And then let's take our hands down onto our lower belly. And let's notice how the breath is moving there. Sometimes when we end up in a stressful state, our breathing is really high up. It's kind of shallow. And so when we are engaging in these yin practices, these still or passive practices, it's really helpful to think about our breath becoming a little bit deeper. And I know that it's not always easy. It's not always easy. And sometimes it requires a little bit more of our attention than we're used to giving our breath. It being an automatic thing and all. But just for now, just for these 10 breaths, really notice that lower belly moving. Good. For a few of these breaths, let's take the arms and cross them over the chest. And think about finding a little bit more space through the back of the heart, that place in between the shoulder blades. Okay, so knees dropping in towards each other, elbows hugging in towards each other, all along the spine, just creating a little bit more space. And you might even think about kind of drawing your chin in towards your throat to allow for the back of the neck to get a little bit longer here too. Just a couple breaths. Good, let's open those arms up nice and wide into a little bit of like a T shape. And we're gonna pick up the hips, scoot them over to the left, and drop the knees off to the right. And here, a little something in between the knees might feel really, really nice. I'm a big fan of support, especially when there's any kind of back pain present. Good, 10 big breaths on this side of the twist. Okay, let's come on back through to the center. And as you find the center, let's take a big stretch. Let's reach those arms out past the head, those legs nice and long. It might feel good to flex the feet and kind of kick one heel then the other to sort of laterally rock that pelvis. Good, and then find a little bit of stillness here. You might interlace those fingers, press the palms out and overhead, wake up those hands a little bit. Good, again, keeping that chin in towards the throat, back of the neck nice and long. 2 big breaths like this. All right, and then we'll hug the knees in towards the chest. And if you have access to the outer edges of your feet, grab a hold of them for happy baby. Otherwise, just taking your hands around the backs of the thighs. Sometimes I like to do this and even interlace the fingers and kind of loop them around my thighs. But I have like super long arms. So if your fingers are not quite reaching, that's fine. We'll take a couple of moments with the knees in towards the sides of the chest here in this happy baby pose, just to rock around. This is a really nice way to place pressure on those muscles that surround the spine. Those muscles of the back body that hold us up. Good, that can become so tense when we are so busy holding ourselves up and holding each other up. Great, and as you rock a little bit on your back, get a little bit of information here too about the parts of your back that might feel tender, that might feel a little bit more in need of support, okay, of that pressure. Sometimes when I roll around on my back, I specifically look for the places that feel a little icky, and then I'll just sit there for a moment and take a couple breaths and kind of watch it dissipate. Good. 2 more breaths maybe here. Good, and let's place the soles of the feet down on the floor. We're gonna press into them, pick up the hips, scoot them off to the right, and yeah, the twist over to the other side. So I've got that supported between my knees again here, especially because I'm feeling some more tension on the right side of my spine today. You're gonna take notice of the hips. How are they feeling? How about your shoulders? Good, let's take about 10 big breaths here. Perfect. Just a couple more. Might even be nice to stretch your arms out past your head, your shoulders, and the muscles of your back. Enjoy that. Wonderful. Let's bring ourselves back through to the center. And as you find center, let's just take one little final pose here, a restorative bridge pose. Okay, I'm going to use my bolster-like item underneath my pelvis, but you might decide to take a block there, your roasting pan, a couple of thick books underneath your back, just something kind of firm. Okay, occasionally when we are feeling this tension in our back, it comes from tight hip flexors.
So this restorative bridge is a really nice way to help find some space through those hip flexors, those deep core muscles as well. And here, let's just keep that left leg bent, but we'll extend that right leg out nice and long. And let's focus on sending 5 breaths or so down into the right side of your lower belly, down into your right hip. Good. Maybe those exhales are audible, or maybe your breath is super quiet this morning. And as you hang out in this pose, just think about calling back all of the energy that you expend on other people, places, things. Calling it back to yourself just for a little bit here. This act of replenishing yourself. Good. One more breath with this right leg extended out nice and long. Alrighty, and then we'll pull that right foot back down to the floor, bend the knee. Let's extend that left leg out nice and long this time. Sometimes when I practice this really gentle leg extension in the restorative bridge, I am shocked and kind of amazed at how different my sides feel, how different those hip flexors feel. For me, the left side is always like a whoa, what is happening here experience. So just take maybe 5 or 6 breaths on this side, breathing into whatever shows up. Whether it's, sensation that's barely detectable or some intensity. Good. 2 more breaths. And then here with your hips elevated, we'll just take one final pose, which is going to be like a supported snail type pose. In a traditional yin snail pose, your legs extend long, your hips sort of pick up and away from the floor. We're not going to rely on the muscles of our back to hold us up here, and we're not going to place that much pressure though. Instead, the pelvis stays in a bolster. The legs could extend out long if you like that, if it feels good to you, or you could keep those knees sort of bent. Good. Why don't we just take a few big breaths here? And we'll come on out of this, removing the support and finding Shavasana, extending those legs out nice and long. Think about picking up the pelvis and setting it back down so that your lower back can get a little bit longer here. Boy. Those arms out to the side, palms facing up if that works for your shoulders. And before you move along with your day, picking up and dealing with all of the responsibilities that are a part of your life right now. Enjoying the sensation of laying it all down. Laying your physical body down. Laying your thoughts down, perhaps for a moment, not running with them. And giving yourself a little bit of space. Good. Just a couple more deep breaths in Shavasana. And then we'll roll on over to our side. Curl up in a ball here. Good, and press yourself back up into your seated position. You can cross one ankle over the other in your easy seat. Sitting up nice and tall just for a breath or two. Great, hands on the heart. Deep breath in to pick the heart up into the hands. Exhale to drop your head down towards your hands and your heart, honoring your practice this morning. It was really good to lead you through this. My back feels better, and I hope yours does too. All right. I'll see you again on Monday morning for our 15 minutes of mudra and meditation. See you soon.